This offseason is going quick, I must say. We're already close to free agency, 65 days away from the NFL draft. Rumors exploding this offseason, so that's what we're going to get into in today's video because that's what we cover. And a lot to go over. The Myles Garrett trade rumor is heating up. We're going to be covering that because now you got Aiden Hutchinson talking about the conversation he had with Myles Garrett. You got Jeff Risdon yesterday publishing the article talking about the trade scenario. Now, a lot of people are going over the trade scenarios and a lot of rumors regarding Myles Garrett. So we're going to cover that, and I know you guys want to talk about it. We're going to get into Alim McNeill. He is progressing well in his injury. We'll talk about that. Carlton Davis absolutely loves Dan Campbell. Should we bring him back? Let's get this thing started right now. Without further ado, let's get into Alim McNeill quick. Let's do some injury update on him. He's working out. He posted his IG, and he's actually looking pretty well. I think he's ahead of schedule the way he's moving. That's great news. He's not behind schedule. I'm not saying he's going to be ready for week one. I don't think that's going to be the case, but he's not behind schedule, and he's actually, in my opinion, ahead of schedule. And like it says here, I thought it was impressive that he even came to the locker room and clean out. See, he was all smiles. So I asked how he did to get to the facility. He said he took an Uber. So, I mean, Alim McNeill is progressing, and that's going to be extremely important, right? He is one of the biggest clogs in this defensive line. And you have Aiden Hutchinson there, too. So we need this defensive line to be healthy, and the healthier and more ready that Alim McNeill gets, it's better for the Detroit Lions. So show some love to Alim McNeill in the comment section by putting prayers up to Alim McNeill. We need him to recover. Prayers up to Alim McNeill. Let's go ahead and get into Carlton Davis shares why Dan Campbell is his favorite coach ever, and I love it. He says he went to the locker room, bro. He was crying. He was like, blame your coach. He was really like, blame your coach. You can blame me. You can blame me, Davis recalled. He took full accountability. I have never in my, 20 years playing football, I've ever had a coach just say, I lost the game for y'all. And there's plenty of other guys could have made. And that's huge. Taking accountability, people love that stuff. People don't like arrogance. They love humbleness. And he continues on, Dan, he's the type to talk about your damn near every day at practice, just talking through the locker room. Davis said he literally sat me down. He'd done a couple times during the season where he had a good game, and he'd come up to me, but boy, you're playing your A off. He'll just say that to you after the game. Boy, you're more than just a cover corner. You're physical, too, and he'll say that in front of the whole team. He'll praise you in front of the whole team, and that's the first time a coach has ever done that. He continued on, and that's just not me for the other players' highlights. The guy is going crazy, like Amon-Ra, St. Brown blocking. St. Brown will block the S out of somebody, and that's something that will go under the radar. Everybody ain't glorifying that. But he's glorifying that for the team. Like, that's what I'm talking about. So when you're doing S, he watches everything. But he also gives you your flowers, too. And a lot of coaches, they don't do that. And that's extremely important. I talk about this, I was in the Army, and I'm sure if you're veterans out there, anyone that's been in leadership, right? You criticize when you're doing something wrong, and you kind of celebrate when they're doing something right. And you're seeing that's the Dan Campbell type of philosophy, right? He's a leader by example. He leads by example. He blames himself first. He doesn't take credit. But he takes the wrong. But that's what a leader is, and that's why everybody follows this guy. He puts the team before himself. He puts his players before himself. He put his coaches before himself, and that's why he should have been Coach of the Year, by the way. And I think that's ridiculous, a stone that he wasn't. He's a real one, and that's my favorite head coach, I'm not going to lie, and that I've played for, Davis said. That's why I was out there trying to break my jaw for him, and he did break his jaw. Now, hopefully, Carlton Davis can come back, right? He is a physical guy. He's a very good cover corner. The only issue is the injury, right? And it's not just the jaw. It was dinged up throughout the season. That is the issue for Carlton Davis is availability. Nothing more and nothing less, but that's why he loves it. All right. So let's get into the what y'all want to really talk about, and that's the Myles Garrett stuff. Ton of articles going over it because they're all surrounding this specific one. So we're going to start with Aiden Hutchinson revealing the details about Myles Garrett. This is what he talked about. He spoke on the Squeeze podcast says, if me and Myles were to pair up, that would be deadly, Hudson. I was talking to him, and we're at the honors, and we're just talking about what could be. And although it's probably unlikely, I think it would be thrilled to play next to him if that were to happen. But yeah, our whole D-line would be totally elevated. We'd be scary defensive line. Continuing on, we get along too. I've seen him these last few years in different things. He texted me after I got hurt, which was a cool thing. Guys outside your own team that reach out, so I think he's a good dude. If he does come, great, but I don't know. We'll see. But that would be awesome. He's going to be cleared in a couple of weeks. I'm just about to that point where everything is looking good, but a couple more weeks to finalize everything up. And he can't play football again. Folks, it is heating up, and the conversation about them two were legit. So in the comments right now, we're going to continue talking about this. Would you trade for Myles Garrett? T for trade, P for pass. Now, it's heating up, folks. And I am a guy, I love Jeff Risdon. And he is a individual and does trades. He's the pessimistic guy. He don't believe that. He believes in the draft. He is the opposite. He did the article about the trade yesterday, and now it's kind of blown up because you're starting to see a little bit of movement. Now, could the trade happen? Potentially it could. Each day that passes with more players talking and Jeff Risdon, the odds for me go up at least for a trade because maybe they really do want to focus on that defensive line. We've seen Shepard talk about that, right? He literally spoke about being disruptive. And so here, if you didn't see my video yesterday, here was the trade that they wanted to get done to get Myles Garrett. Again, Jeff Risdon is not an individual that does trades, but you'd have to give up quite a bit, right? You're going to have to give up the first-round pick this year, third-round pick this year, first-round pick next year, and I think it was a third-round pick and Brodric Martin. Now, Brodric Martin can go. He hasn't done anything here, so I have no problem with that first-round pick. I have no problem with that this year because you're going to get a compensation. I don't have a problem with the third-round pick this year because it's a comp pick from Aaron Glenn. Next year, you get a second-round pick, though, in return from the first. So I love the trade. And look, he's doing a B-plus trade. I would give this to be an A trade. I think this would be a win for both football teams. I do. Your Cleveland Browns is getting two significant draft picks, two first-round picks, right? Yeah, they have to give up next year's second. There's a couple pick swap, but that will significantly upgrade their team. They're not ready to compete anytime soon. So I think this would be a great trade for both. 100%. And again, here, this was the trade scenario that he got going on. This is what Jeff Risdon had here. This is to read it for you. It says, reported earlier for month, Garrett should bring at least two quality picks in return. This is Jeremy Follow Me, either two first-rounders or a first and a high-level day package. So this is ideal. This is 100% ideal. Because you're getting draft picks. You'd have 6 draft picks this year. Now we're talking about late draft picks, right? You're not going to have your first and your third. But do you need to have all of your draft picks, right? If you get Myles Garrett, you don't obviously need to get an edge at the 28th pick. Clearly, right? You give up your third. Well, the third-round pick probably going to start anyway. Still got a second. Bam. You go ahead and you get another player, maybe an offensive lineman or a linebacker or a secondary player. The Lions filled a lot of needs. You get a Myles Garrett, it's going to fill the needs of the secondary. It's going to fill the needs of the linebackers because he's so disruptive. So you got to put that in perspective as well. And so I think again, I started when these rumors came out thinking there's no way, right? Brad Holmes hasn't done this, but I'm not going to lie. Each day passes going up, and I think that it's possible now. I didn't think it was possible. Well, I thought it was extremely unlikely. I still say it's less than 50% for sure. There's no doubt about it. I'm not saying that they're going to get it done, but I think that each day passes, it feels like it could, and that would be epic, especially with a trade scenario like this. I think this is a win for both teams. I truly do. And with Brad Holmes, the ability to draft late picks, I think this would be a win-win-win. But what do you guys think? Would you make the trade and grade this trade A, B, C, D, or F? Here's another trade rumor that doesn't involve the Detroit Lions, but former quarterback Matthew Stafford potentially could be traded out of L.A. Cooper Kupp's getting traded. We all know that. And guess what? He could be traded out of L.A. because they're dealing with a contract issue. This is funny because it's going to affect the NFC, obviously. Now, it depends where Stafford gets traded, but say Stafford goes to the AFC. There you go. Then Stafford's no longer in the NFC. And maybe, and I'm thinking that it's probably going to be Aaron Rodgers that goes to the Rams. That's what I would, if Stafford gets traded, I would expect Aaron Rodgers to go to the Rams, but maybe he goes to the Giants. Who knows where he could go? But they want to get a first-round pick out of Matthew Stafford, and I don't know, man. That's a lot for a quarterback who is older, and I don't know. That's quite a bit to get done. He's still a really good quarterback, but they want him back, but that's a lot of cap. But we did get cap space, and a lot of cap space. So here's the thing, man. Why do I want to cover this? Because first off, it's former quarterback Matthew Stafford. But secondly, because it just depends where he goes, right? Maybe he goes to the AFC, and that's one less quarterback you got to deal with the NFC. That's one. I mean, in all honesty, if Karen were to go to the Rams and Stafford would go to, say, the Jets or something like that, that's a downgrade, I do believe, for the Rams. So we'll see. We'll see how this one plays out, but it's going to be interesting to see where Stafford goes. And I'm hearing a lot of Kelly Stafford is one of the reasons that people are getting annoyed, and that's hilarious to me because it's true. She could be annoying, and I think she's done him some damage. But, oh, well, that's the Lions rumors for today. Give me your thoughts in the comments. Adios.